Welcome everybody to Talking Story. Most importantly, welcome the wizard, Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads. You are, man, I gotta tell you, you're one of my spirit animals on BookTube. You were the first person to reach out and say something crazy nice about me. And before that, and even after that, I always watch every one of your videos in their fullest extent because I can always learn something. I can learn something how to do better on my channel. I can learn more about people I'm not reading that I should be reading. So I mean, just you're absolutely one of my faves. And I was on your channel, and it's like I'm going to start doing it. You said, "Hey, bring me on," and I could not be more happier to spend another night with the wizard.
Thanks. Oh gosh, yeah. Thanks for that introduction. Yeah, I remember the first time I saw your channel, I was like, "This is awesome," and I just tweeted about it, and here we are.
I got to tell you that I was walking on air for like 2 days.
Because, 2 days?
Well,
you should see a doctor about that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I don't know what they would. I'm not sure what
or something.
I'm not sure what they'd say about that, but it's like, I mean, seriously, because when you first start, you're starting, and it's like, I thought I was like screaming thoughts into a bag and then kind of wadding them up and throwing them in. I mean, you have you're not getting very many comments, and the few you are magic. But then to have somebody that like I'm already been watching before I even started this say something, I was like, oh my God. It was the weirdest thing, man. Absolutely.
Watching everything I do though, like that's dedication. I don't even watch everything I do. Well,
dude, I'm talking the shorts. I'm talking. Every time something pops up from Andrew, I watch it.
The shorts were an experiment. That just
Who's this guy?
Yeah, I've got it. I can't see the comments on my screen, so I've got it on my phone, and I just decided to say hi to everybody.
I think. Look at this. This is our guy Zach.
Zach, the storytelling dragon. He's been working on.
One of the nicest people in the world.
Yeah. He's now a moderator on the Discord.
I know. He keeps I'm horrible. I'm horrible, man. But I keep seeing the questions, but he hits me up sometimes on Discord and with questions and stuff. He is the absolute nicest guy.
He told me I have to ask you about One Piece.
Oh my God. Okay. Have you I know from watching everything you do that how many times did you have to order the box set?
3.
Okay.
I've got that sucker right here.
So, I mean, I know you're a fan. Like, I know you're a fan to have to order the box sets. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And you had to be a fan. You didn't sink that kind of cash if you hadn't already read it, right?
Well, so I grew up on the anime, and there was something called Shonen Jump Shonen Jump Monthly back when I was a preteen. And you would get like a single chapter of 7 or 8 different mangas monthly. And One Piece was one of those. Sorry if you can hear my family in the background.
It's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, I used to get those, and then when I stopped getting those, there was this awful adaptation it was called 4Kids TV. And it was this awful Americanized, like really censored type of One Piece where like they would take like somebody would get spikes shot into their body and they would turn them into like suction cup darts.
Oh my God.
Like it was that bad.
So it was, yeah, okay.
So it was heavily censored, and then that didn't last very long. I don't even think they made it to the Grand Line in that show. And then when I was in my early 20s, I think I watched the first 700 episodes of the current anime, which is now being remade. But yeah, I'm a longtime fan of One Piece.
Okay, so I know this is gonna hurt Zach. This is gonna hurt Zach. And I hurt Zach a lot because I love Doctor Who, but I haven't seen all the old and all that kind of So a lot
I have.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna hurt you. It's gonna hurt Zach. Okay, here's the extent of my anime manga, and I owned a comic store. Like I sold it. Here's the extent. Like when I was younger, and I would spend summers at my aunt's house, she lived in Houston, which was a much bigger city than where I lived, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I've been.
I would get to watch like Speed Racer,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Nope.
and I
The
would get
monkey.
to Chim Chim, come
Chim
on.
Chim.
I would get to, and Trixie, the whole gang. I still remember it all. Like I would get to watch Speed Racer and Battle for the Planets, G-Force. Like I would get to see all those when I would spend summers with her near a bigger city. And that's it. I've never read any manga. I've never watched any anime. I haven't watched the One Piece live action that everyone is so crazy about. Like
It's really well done. The live action was.
I mean, should I dive in? Like I know what Zach's gonna say. What is taking me so long?
I don't know if One Piece is the one anime or manga that I can say is start here.
Okay.
Now, if you only want to like limit yourself to certain series, there are tons of longer ones. But like Yu Yu Hakusho was great. You had oh god, as soon as I start thinking of something, my brain like just forgets it all. There's Naruto, there's Bleach, there's Dragon Ball Z. All of these, you'd probably get a kick out of Bleach. Bleach would be really cool.
Like Death Note, I hear about Death Note.
I didn't like Death
You didn't
Note.
like Death Note? Okay.
I don't like a cool one that you might get a kick out is Spy X Family. I'm currently watching that one. Netflix just dropped one that you would probably appreciate. I believe it's called Blue Eye Samurai.
Okay. All right.
It's very graphic. It's very adult. But at the same time, that's super good. But if you really want to just try an anime,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say try Afro Samurai. It's only
Okay.
5 episodes. It's the main voice actor is Samuel L. Jackson. You already know where this is going. And it came out. Oh, I'm gonna say it came out like 20 years ago. But it's
Okay.
5 episodes, and it's just really, really cool.
Yeah, and I've heard people talk about Blue Eye Samurai. Like that's on Netflix. Where would I find Afro Samurai?
Oh God, I don't know.
Okay, I'll look it up.
I
Maybe
haven't-
someone in
I
the
haven't-
chat could tell us. And I gotta highlight this because I gotta say, Christopher, come here, Jacob. As far as lights go and cameras go and thumbnails go and everything that's actually important that goes on here, this is my son who does all that. So a link for the lights, like we'll put that up in a video coming up or something, right? We'll get that out there. But yeah, they're from Amazon. They're not pricey, right? The shelf lights.
No.
No, yeah, they're absolutely not.
Let me know, because I've been thinking about doing shelf lights, but I've got solid back like bookshelves that are just screwed together that I got from Target.
Right. The blue glow is lights that are kind of in front of the shelves. They're not
Yeah.
back. Yeah, so it's like you could totally do it.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So
They're not.
send
They're
me the
not.
link to what you got, and
Yeah.
I might upgrade.
We'll send the link out. We'll get it out there.
I've been thinking of doing them on this shelf and on this shelf.
You know who has the best shelf lights is Chris Navo. Like he looks like he's from a UFO.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chris has got really good production anyway. Chris is awesome. I'm actually going to have Chris on my channel. I'm hoping in February. February is going to be jam-packed for me, so it's going to be a little bit of a crazy shuffle. So he might get pushed to March, but we'll figure it out. But
I'm doing a buddy read with him in February too. We're doing Song for Arbonne. So he's
GGK.
Yeah, GGK. He's the absolute best. You know what? This makes me. I'll walk on air for a full week.
Yeah.
For like this to go all the way around and like somebody watched anything I did and go, you know what? I want to get my voice out there. Like that makes me beyond happy.
It's wild. So one of the most surreal situations I ever ran into is I saw Chris. Oh, Chris, what's your channel's name? For some reason, I can't think of it right now.
Navo or a different Chris?
Different Chris, down in Australia.
Oh, Unlimited Reads.
No. Anyway,
wow.
he was doing a reading sprint. I popped in just to say hi, and he was just like, "What? Like, is Andrew really here?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm just a dude on the other end watching YouTube. Like, I don't understand. It's a weird situation when you become a YouTuber and
Yeah.
people start watching you. There's this disconnect where like you become something other than the person that you are. And it's as an individual, that's kind of hard sometimes to rationalize and wrap your mind around. where like, I mean, I'm just, like Mike says, I'm just a dude with Wi-Fi.
But I mean, and I guess maybe because I have not been doing it this long, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel no problem thinking, hey, I'm just a dude that likes to read these books and talk about these books with other dudes or dudettes or whoever wants to join me and makes my day.
That's the mentality to keep.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it is for me. That's all. I stopped looking at all the numbers and everything else because, like, you know what? This takes me back to my happy time when I had people to talk books with, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But there are moments that I'm sure you doing it for as long as you've done it for, right? Like, it hits you like, oh, damn, like, there's people, like, wow, that really takes, like, there have been things that, Heidi's the sweetest person in the world.
Heidi's amazing.
Yeah, like, I mean, she sent me something that included, like, some of her family, and it's like, oh my God, like, I feel I've made real friends. Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Tori, Joanna.
Oh my God, Tori.
I mean, Kay, Nico, Mike, you. I've got so many people that like pop into my head first before friends that I've made out in my like local town.
Yeah.
Like my friends and my family and stuff like that. Like close knit, like Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative, Evie. She was Evie. I'd love to give Evie a hard time.
You know what? I haven't got to meet Evie, and it's like I hear you talk about Murphy. I haven't got to meet Murphy.
Murphy's great.
Like they're kind of seem like another stratosphere, I guess. Like Murphy and
Daniel is very, very down to earth.
Yeah.
Like if you talk to Murphy, Murphy will talk to you. She'll hop on your channel. She'll give you a hard time. She'll haze you. It'll be great. It's all done in great love. But I
just hadn't been around long enough. I'm sure she has no idea I exist. But I love her. I love her stuff.
It was honestly, I had mentioned, I think the way that this happened, the way I got talking to Murphy was I mentioned her and Daniel in a video one time, and I just happened to like tag them, and like in the comments you can tag other channels. They saw it and they decided to subscribe.
Oh, wow.
And that was when I was at like 700 subscribers. And apparently they do that. They like sometimes will follow smaller channels and up and coming and see what's going on. And then Murphy was on a live show with Tori, and I happened to be in the comments section, and then we just started chatting immediately following that live show. Like it was just that easy. She's very down to earth.
It's the friends I have made, and what I found is like as you get older, you don't necessarily have a ton of friends, in your life, and you built a family, you built your job, or whatever, fill in the blank. But the friends I've already made just hanging out 8 months around and talking to people are like, these people are amazing. Everyone's amazing.
Yeah, everybody's fantastic.
I mean,
there's the occasional drama that's going to happen in anything, but for the most part, 98% of this has been an absolutely amazing experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100 for me, but like I say, I'm a newbie, so I'm waiting for the drama.
It'll happen.
I'm waiting for the drama. Yeah,
don't worry, it'll happen.
Let's change topics. I mean, everybody, let's say, how is the Read Your Shelf Challenge going, Andrew?
It's actually going really well so far. So here I'll kind of spoil a little bit. So if I can turn and then tilt, that is what I'm planning on reading in March. Over here is my February stack. Over here, is that in frame? That is in frame. That's April. So that's everything. And then up here is what I've read so far in January. So it's going really well. And then I've been buying books, but I've been buying books and adding. I removed a bunch of books from my Amazon wish list that I just haven't read yet.
Right.
And then I added a bunch of books that I've either listened to audio or ebook, but I don't own physically. And I've started adding those to my shelf.
Yeah.
Did something break?
Oh, am I supposed to hit that every once in a while?
No, just because you scrolled up, it wasn't showing.
Oh my God, I don't know how to work stuff.
I can't see the chat, so I don't know.
Oh my God, I scrolled up to get somebody, and then I haven't seen all these. Oh my God, I feel so horrible. I'm old. I'm really, really old. Like, I don't know how stuff works.
Hey, it's fine. My kids are already like using iPads better than I can.
Oh my God.
She's 3.5 and she's just
Joanna's already giving me grief about talking about mixtapes. Like I'm stuck in my VCR would flash 12 now. I don't know how stuff works. Oh my God. Okay. I'll catch up with everybody, I promise. So, that was a huge stack for January, Andrew. How many books have you already freaking read?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope, that one's not been read. 8. I've got 2 up there that are potential, but then I've got 9, 10, and then 1 digital, and I've DNF'd 2.
Hey, that's a good rate for you.
Yeah.
Out of that many to DNF 2?
Well, one wasn't even a bad book. It was so not my speed. Like at one point, it was so YA and tropey that like a teenage bully shows up in the middle of somebody. Joanna's a dude, bro.
You know what? I threw Dudette out there, Joanna. You are
Dudette, very, very 90s of you.
Yeah. Well, you're talking my heyday there. So, but if you want to be a dude, bro, you can be a dude, bro. You can be whatever you want to be, Joanna.
But like this character shows up on the page, and I'm like, this is what's gonna happen. And sure enough, by the like end of the chapter, he had done the thing that I had anticipated him to do. I'm like, I'm just not getting anything out of this read. It's really well written and it's entertaining, but I'm just starting to move on.
So Will of the Mini, how's it going? Because that's on my list.
It's really good. It's very hard to describe Will of the Mini without sounding insulting, even though I think it's very good.
Okay.
Well, sounding insulting might be the wrong terminology. I picture it like you took Pierce Brown, you took Christopher Rocchio, and you smashed them together, except you removed the sci-fi elements.
Okay.
So it reads like something that Christopher Rocchio might write if he just kind of wanted to take it easy for a little bit. And then it also feels a lot like it's got a lot of inspiration. Well, I mean, they're both pulling inspiration from the same place. All 3 books are from Roman kind of history and culture. And so that's all there. But I mean, this is my 4th James Islington book. I'm really enjoying it. I think I got 32% today. So I've got it right here.
So you're a third through.
And then I'm also buddy reading this with Joanna currently.
And Joanna said she's loving it.
It's a very interesting read. I've already got like a bunch of predictions on it. Me and her have been talking every day. We're doing like 2 chapters a day, and we just kind of message back and forth. We were actually just talking like 40 minutes ago about Rebecca. We're currently around halfway. I think she's a little ahead of me, but I just finished chapter 14 of 27. So I'm doing really well there. Oh, and then I started Contract and Soul Foreign, but I don't know where I put it. Oh, it's right here. There we go.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, you're hip on that. You said grab what you love, grab what's pulling you, grab what you want.
Oh, I'm going to tell you what. Their first book was much shorter. This one.
Yeah.
And I loved this. This is
that's way short.
That's a collection of 4 kind of spliced together novellas with a really good through line. There's a story in here that absolutely wrecked me. I believe it's called The Father.
Oh, yeah.
Winter. Yeah. It's called A Father. And I about cried.
Well, I was talking to Andrew D. Meredith, and that, thrice hit me right in the feels too, because, and I was telling him when I talked to him, like, there's no way, and I'm sure you're going to totally relate to this having youngins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't be
Andrew's kids.
I have you really?
Yeah.
I couldn't be fully formed. I wouldn't be who I am.
Oh yeah, no.
Without, yeah, man. Like it's.
I wear it with pride.
And hey, and I totally get it. Like I was one of those people with my wife, years and years and years ago, sitting in a restaurant, going, you know what? we got our art, we're doing our thing. Like if this is what our lives are, and this is our baby, I'm good with that. I don't feel, but now on the other side, like having part of your heart walk around in the world and you get to watch it like it's the best cable show ever, and just reading that book, and so many books now hit me.
Mm-hmm.
That one particularly recently, like it's a different world, man.
You liked Mike Shackles so much. Where are they? They're up here. Speaking about one that like really hits hard, this is The Trials of Ashmount by John Palladino.
Right.
And then Buzzard's Bowl.
That's the second one.
Some of the darkest stuff.
Yeah, I see you talk about this, and I've heard Leslie talk about this on Nerdy Narrative. It's dark, right? It goes there.
It goes there. John, at one point, I was talking to John, and that was when I first DNF'd the first book, and I've DNF'd both books once, and then I felt so compelled that I had to come back and finish them.
Yeah.
So that's happened with each book. So now I just know I have to split each book into 2 different readings, and it's not a DNF. It's just let's take a pause.
And then that's just here's Bert from Bert's Library chiming in, another fan of Palladino. So I mean, and that's just from tone, right? I got to step away for a little bit. Not that it's a bad book.
No, that's just, this is getting heavy.
Yeah.
But I was having a conversation with him, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, like nothing's off limits." He's like, "That stuff just doesn't affect me as a person, so I don't feel bad writing about it." And I was just like, "Woof." I was just like, "All right, man, like you're punching heavy."
Yeah. Oh, I wrote it down right here. So yeah, I love that. I just finished that I'm doing in a buddy read with Josh at Red Fury and some other ones. Brian Lee Durfee's trilogy.
You finished the whole trilogy?
No, we're doing like one book a month. Those things are, they're chunks. So I just finished the first one, Forgetting Moon. And yeah, it's heavy. He goes there. Like he doesn't pull punches.
I'll agree. Sure. I DNF'd it.
Did you? I mean, for me, I had questions. I'm not going to say I didn't like it. Like I blew through it in no time. It's a really fast read. But
I thought his character work was, at least in book 1. I don't want to say bad things about Brian, because Brian's an amazing person. I didn't like his character work.
Yeah, they're very iconic. Like he takes the toys out of the chest and he starts to play with them. And that didn't bother me. I kind of enjoyed that.
I thought the world and all of that was really cool. I
love the lore. I love the world. There's some of the intrigue and machinations, political intrigue and machinations that's going on. It's like, all right, this is going to pay off. He's got a big plan for this, or I hope this pays off, because by end of book 1, I'm like, I got questions.
Part of the reason I think the narrator for his books is Tim Gerald Reynolds. I'm not a Tim Gerald Reynolds fan, and I know that's blasphemy.
And you were listening?
Yeah, so I listened to the first book. And in fact, I might be harsher on. I am more inclined to be harsher on a book if I don't like the narrator.
Oh.
Because The Great Coats by Sebastian de Castell did this, and it was the same with with The Wounded Kingdom, because it's the same narrator. And I walked away from both series, and I had to come back and finish them physically.
Yeah.
And I had 2 totally separate experiences. So I'm wondering is if I come back to 5 Warrior Angels and read them physically, if I would have a different experience.
Yeah, possibly. And that's why I don't. And I think this is, Brian has told me, like, if I'm confused, like that's where I'm supposed to be. So I'm taking it on faith with Brian. But Heidi's listening now. So,
like I said, I am in a very, very small minority of people who don't vibe with TGR.
I found I have the hardest time with audiobooks in general. One, because my mind wanders and I'm like, wait, what happened? And two, like spending so much time with scripts and making choices and interpreting, like that was my job for so many years. I'll catch myself listening and it's like, I don't know, I don't think I'd have made that choice. I think that I'd have done that differently. And then I miss what the story is. So when I read, like I play the whole thing, I see the whole thing as a big movie. Like for me, Forgetting Moon was Zack Snyder. Like the blood splatters on the camera lens, like it's just, it's bold, it's brash, it's out there, it's sweeping, it's operatic, and it's like I see all that. And when I'm hearing somebody else interpret that and give me their choices as a narrator, I can get hung up on that sometimes. For me, it gets between the author and my own interpretation.
Yeah. Well, sometimes like a really good narrator for me is someone who just immediately brings the story to life. And say what you want about Tim Gerald Reynolds, he does pretty much every performance the exact same way.
Yeah. I guess I've never heard of it. But
he's basically a Christopher Walken type of, like, if you see a Christopher Walken movie and you see him on the billing, you walk in, you know exactly what you're about to get.
This is what you're going to get. Yeah.
I'm not saying he sounds like Christopher Walken. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, you know what you're going to get when you turn on Tim Gerald Reynolds. And sometimes I like a little bit more range. And also when he does young kids, for whatever reason, they just annoy the piss out of me. And I think that's probably my problem with the Forgetting Moon is just all of the coming of age young kids were just like, I was like, I just want to smack you so hard.
And that's some of the intrigue that
That's not something I enjoy. I don't want to have to smack my characters.
That's some of the intrigue I'm having. Like, what? Why would you just say that? Why? What? What?
Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Belltube says he should narrate your autobiography.
He doesn't have the range.
I like this book, but I had to DNF it. Let's see. What Erudite said. I do the same thing, but I also hear other choices to see a different way of performing it. Often I get different things in the stories when others read it. I can see that. I can see that. For me, it's like reading is, I love being transported to the point where it's almost meditative to me. And it's such private, personal time that if I add another person, I don't know. It's just so meditative for me.
It's got to be like a narrator who just kind of almost melts into the story for me and they become those characters. Kirby Hayborn, Simon Vance, Christian Rodska. I always feel bad that I can't remember the narrator for. I used to Eduardo Ballerini for Matthew Corbett.
I've not listened to anything Matthew Corbett.
You haven't?
No, I've read them all.
Dude. If you've already read the book, just to hear his voice, like go and listen to a sample of Eduardo. Like the sample's free on Audible.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Just to listen. Christopher Buehlman. Oh, Christopher Buehlman narrates some of his own books.
Yeah,
that man is brilliant. I didn't know. Like when I reviewed Black Tongue Thief, I was like, oh yeah, like he's from like Scotland, and so he sounds perfect. And like people hopped on, they're like, yeah, he's from Florida, right?
Yeah, he's from Florida, but he's a performer. He
fooled me. He straight up fooled me for 12 hours.
Yeah. No, and he. See, I think that's the perfect storm, Heidi. I'm going to give that a try because that's the perfect storm because it's not someone standing between the author and me. It's the author interpreting and performing his own work. So, I'm absolutely going to try. And I was supposed to get that book today, but Amazon lost my shipment. So it's
a really entertaining read. It gets a little hectic and messy about 80% of the way through, and then it sticks the landing anyway.
Okay.
I'm excited to read his Between Two Fires. I've got that on my Amazon wish list, and I want to go buy it here soon.
Well, you had me read his vampire book for
and he narrated that one too.
Did he really? Okay.
Oh my God, he did such an amazing job.
Dude, I dug
Because,
that.
like, the end of that book is just like this huge mind blow, and he put so much scorn on the ending of the book, and he's like, "See, I told you you should have stopped here."
Yeah, yeah. But okay,
It's like, oh my gosh.
I gotta say hi to my buddy Chris. I love Chris's channel. He reads more thrillers than anybody I know, and I always get good recommendations from Chris. And I could listen to that accent all day. I love it.
There's some great fictional escapist. Thank you so much.
Oh, is that the one you were trying to think of?
That was who I was trying to think of. It just poof.
Okay, talking about Buellman, I got to rake you over the coals. I got to challenge you, my brother, my friend, my booktube spirit animal, Andrew. You did a whole thing. I don't like unreliable narrators. I think I don't like unreliable narrators, right? Mm-hmm. And then I had just read Christopher Buellman's fan. That is the poster boy for unreliable narrators.
So, okay. So
I don't want to, no spoilers. I don't want to ruin the ending for anyone that hadn't read it.
We can kind of get, so it's weird. If you're consistently through the story being unreliable, I feel like there's a slight difference between the unreliable narrator and just outright telling a story. So, like, basically, unreliable narrator is embellishment to me.
Okay.
Like, oh, I'm going to make myself, like, right over your shoulder, the Name of the Wind. That's unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
Other shoulder.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
One of my favorites.
That's
one of my favorites.
Narrator, but like the murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. That's outright lying. That's lies of omission. If you have a murder mystery and I'm unable to solve it because you've outright lied to me, the reader, by withholding information, I don't like that.
Okay. So you're not saying if unreliable narrator is done well or a certain way, you may be on board.
And even if it's not done a specific way, if it's just done well, and I don't feel cheated at the end. So like that snarkiness at the end of the Lesser Dead, that snarkiness was basically telling me another story in a very short format, going like, now see, aren't you disappointed with yourself?
Yeah.
Like it's coming clean.
Yeah. I loved it. And I loved it in that book. When he got to that point, like, you know what? You should step back now. You should close the book now. You're going to be much happier if you just walk away.
I thought that was something I've never seen before.
Me neither. I hadn't seen it that way.
And that moves it above unreliable narrator to me. Now, there are some stories where people will be like, Andrew, this was unreliable narrator. And I'm like, okay, I did enjoy that. But did I love it? That I thought Buellman was just brilliant in that book.
So I bet his performance of that in the audiobook was
he opens the book telling you that something's about to happen.
Yeah. He's very upfront about it.
He's very upfront.
From the very beginning.
I was braced for something at the end of the book, and you get it. And it's
okay. Baggins, you got to tell me if you got to, both Andrew and I like this book. You got to tell us if you liked it.
So good.
Not just gave it a try, but if you liked it.
The only reason I didn't continue that trilogy is, unfortunately, at the end of last year, I had a friend and patron of the channel pass away.
Yeah.
I just wasn't in the right headspace for Grimdark at the time.
Yeah. And you've got to respect that. Like you like you say, grab what's pulling you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the joy for me, the joy of art and lit is it can explain what we're feeling. It can help us process what we're feeling. But it can also give us respite from what we're feeling. You know, if you're needing that type of, sucker as well, it can do that for you. So I applaud you for listening to yourself and taking care of yourself in that way.
Yeah. I am next month. I'm coming back to Full Soap.
Yeah. I did wrap it out, and I hope T Baggins liked it too. I thought it was a great series. I thought it was a great series. I really enjoyed it. But dark, and it doesn't lighten up for books 2 and 3.
Well, it doesn't always go full dark. Like it'll go dark, and then it'll kind of come up for air a little bit, and then it'll come back down, and it'll kind of go up for air. I thought the end of We Are the Dead was a bit rushed. There's like a confrontation at the end that kind of happens very quickly,
Yeah.
and then they just kind of resolve it and move on. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Heidi said she listened to Buellman. She just acted like it didn't exist. Hey, Madison.
Hey, Madison.
How you doing? Have you started or have you finished reading Station 11 yet? Have you read that, Andrew?
That's sci-fi, right?
Yes. Well, post-apocalyptic, I would call it.
I don't think I have.
Oh.
I'll look it up. I can't, with the Read My Shelf challenge right now, I can't.
Oh, no, you can't order anything in. But do you have HBO?
Yes.
There is an amazing adaptation, faithful, beautiful, amazing, some of the best TV you'll ever watch. It's 8 episodes. Check it out.
I feel like I heard Madison talk about this at Mike's 100K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I honestly did not enjoy it that much. Many of the decisions made from a writing standpoint didn't make sense to me, but I'm glad I tried it.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I
Hey.
get it. I mean, to me, that's part of the wonderful thing of what we do, right? Like, there's so much amazing stuff out there. We can all find our favorites. We all try things that may not be our favorites, so we can all hang out and talk about it. But there's
Unless
no
for me, I just DNF them.
no, yeah. I don't want to talk to you people. That's why I just put the book down. But there's no right, there's no wrong. Art is so subjective. It speaks to your personal soul, and if it does, it doesn't. If it doesn't, and if you are, maybe T. Baggins is a writer himself, I believe. So if you're a craftsman and that type of craft isn't speaking to you, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Seems like a great guy, just not for me. Absolutely.
Fair enough. That's what I tell everybody about Wandering In. Everybody kind of focuses on the length of the series, and I'm like, no, don't worry about the length of the series. Worry about book 1.
Yeah.
If you liked book 1, then you're gonna like the series.
Yeah.
If you didn't like book 1, you've only invested 1 book. No, it's the Stormlight length book, but at the same time, you've tried the series. You can now walk away, or you've fallen in love with it and you can continue on.
Yeah. Hey, Shot, how you doing?
Jod's amazing.
Let's see, who else? I started, but it's way too close to me finishing the show, and comparison was killing me, so I'll try again later. That's fair.
I've done that.
Yeah, that's fair. Give them their own space, but the show is so good, Andrew. If you have HBO anyway,
I don't watch a lot of TV. Honestly, most of the time on my TV, it's Daniel Tiger, Blippi, Miss Rachel, whatever my kids want to watch.
I went through a lot of years of Blue's Clues on my TV.
Oh, man. Like, I was of the generation when Steve came on, like, in 2019.
Yeah.
Made, like, big comeback. I was, like, crying. I was like, it's Steve. Where did
Steve is on. This is a big deal. Yeah, when Jacob was little, it was pre-Joe, man. It was all Steve. Steve was the man. To the point where the little fishbowl in Jacob's room, his little fish was Mailbox. They were all named from the characters of Blue's Clues.
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't mind me telling all these stories.
Oh, Blue's Clues was man. There's nothing to be ashamed about with Blue's Clues.
No, that's
a big comfy couch. I ain't mad about the 60-second cleanup.
That's the good stuff, man. See, Shad loved Last War Trilogy, top trilogy. A lot of people have really been liking it. I really dug it. It made my top list as well. I really liked it.
Well, with Broken Binding putting out the new
Okay, stop it. Because I know you have those.
I have what?
You have the Broken Binding edition.
Of what? Powder Mage?
No, of Last War.
Oh, yeah, I do. Of course I do. I may not have... They may not be my favorite company, but they put out pretty books.
Who's your favorite company? Folio?
It's either Folio or Grim Oak. Although I'm mad at Grim Oak right now. So they put out Name of the Wind, and I don't support Patrick Rothfuss at all. So
I love the dude's words, man. I love his words. I don't know him personally. I can see why people have a beef. I get it. I totally get it.
He's not a guy for me.
Look at this. A viewer and friend sent me the Broken Binding of Last War.
Ooh, nice.
I have my...
They're very pretty books.
they're gorgeous. The sprayed edges on those pages is amazing. Look at that. I mean, yeah, you hold all three together, they look so great together. I know a weapon gets added on every book. I've seen. It's just not fair. I have my lovely paperbacks from GoLinks.
I mean, hey, you could probably get them somewhere. Maybe eBay.
Yeah, I'm trying to take inspiration from you, as in all things. I'm trying to buy less books, and somehow I have a huge pile of books that I got in January, and I don't even know how it happened. I went into this month trying not to buy books.
My stack of books is actually the lowest it's ever been. And so I'm going to do a book haul probably in February. Or no, that won't come out until March probably. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 books over there. And I've read 12 of them.
I've got, how many did I bring in? I don't even want to count. It'll depress me. But I can't stop myself. I have so much joy from buying books.
Yeah, well, buying and reading books are two totally separate hobbies.
Right.
They're two
but they
totally
both bring
different
joy.
hits.
Do you get joy from both?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's why I when I started my Read My Shelf challenge, I didn't go on a book buying ban because I've read enough ebooks and listened to enough audiobooks that I can, for a while, I can buy books that I've already read and loved, and be just fine.
But people say it's like, well, are you reading these books? You're not going to read them right away. Like, what, they're just going to sit on a shelf. But I still get so much pleasure from.
Yeah, it's a separate hobby.
Yeah.
My wife collects hockey jerseys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone needs something, man. Just finished Eye of the World today. That is, you just cracked open one of the major ones.
Mm-hmm. I've read that book 9 times.
Oh my God.
That's my favorite book of all time.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have committed to getting back to this series this year. And I think I'm on book 6, I think.
Oof, you picked a bad place to pause.
I know. That's what I hear. Like, what's it? Path of Daggers, something? Something of Daggers, right?
No. So Path of Daggers isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Then Winter's Heart is okay. Crossroads of Twilight is hot garbage. And then
see, but it's like, okay, so many people love this series, and they all kind of say the same thing. Oh, this book was horrible.
It's just part of the process. It's not that it's bad. It's just that the pacing and the content of the book, this was right around the time when Jordan was initially diagnosed with his illness. I believe that actually was around Winter's Heart when he found out he was sick. And it was an extended series. It was supposed to be like, I think originally 5 books, or I think he was initially signed for a trilogy. He had planned 5 books, and then it turned into 14, obviously. And I saw somebody ask about a hockey team. She likes the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Colorado Avalanche.
That was Corey.
Yep. Corey. That's my wife's teams.
I was going to put those up there, but I did want to say, look, Teabag, same. He bought all of War and Light and Shadow. It's a year or 2 until he can get to it. And I totally feel this because I want to read this so badly. You have them all, Andrew?
They're right up top.
Yeah.
Right next to my K9 Doctor Who.
The last one's coming out this year. And I want to have them all, and I know I'm going to read
audio. It's getting audio now.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, I can't do audio, but it's like
I
want them all. I want all of them. I want them on my shelf. Like, what a major achievement for so many, and she's going to finish it this year, and it's like I want to be a part of that.
I'll warn you, one of them is not available in hardcover.
Anymore, or was ever?
Ever.
Really?
She had an awful time with the publishing industry. She's actually had a really rough time. I've actually talked with Janet quite a bit on Twitter. When we got close, when I started I actually got a Christmas gift from her. She sent me a mug.
Are you I've talked to her on Twitter too, and isn't that like, for me, that's surreal.
Yeah, but with Cycle of Fire, she wrote the first 2 books, and then when she wrote the 3rd book, they didn't do a reprint of the first 2 books, and so basically a bunch of people were only able to buy the 3rd book, and it caused mass returns.
Oh my
because
God.
nobody knew what was going on.
Right.
So Cycle of Fire, she absolutely got screwed. And then, I mean, you've got to be prepared for the prose bomb that is Wars of Light and Shadow.
But I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's some of the most dense and beautiful prose you will ever see. But Ricky, I've actually went to Colorado to an Avs game. It's amazing.
Sweet. How you doing, Bo? Okay, Heidi, what are you talking? I just read all of them. I do not say anything negative. Are you talking about Jordan's series? Wheel of Time?
If we're talking about Wheel of Time.
She says they're all good. I have to go back. I want to finish. It's, you want to read Wheel of Time.
I'm actually wanting to upgrade my dust jackets to the junipers.
Those are pretty.
That's a dream of mine.
Those are really pretty.
Yeah, it's definitely a pipe dream because they went from being $175. They're now $50 more expensive than they were in 2019, which is ridiculous.
Ricky just watched them in Dallas.
Nice.
OT win for the Avalanche. Nice. That's the game to be at. My
coolest hockey game was I went to the 2017 Winter Classic in Pittsburgh, and Train, the band, was right in front of us, and this was in the Steelers Stadium. And I mean, we're sat smack dab in front of Train, and they started playing something Mercury, Raindrops of Mercury or something.
That is so cool.
It was really cool. I've gotten the name of the name of the song, but like they did all the greats, and it was like a good 20-minute just concert, like smack dab right there. It's really cool.
Wow. So I want to do War of Light and Shadows, but while I'm catching up on the Cosmere, I don't want to start any other massive.
That's a bad idea.
Bad idea to catch up on the Cosmere?
No, bad idea to do them both at the same time.
Right. They're to start in, I'm trying to keep to like trilogies or maybe like 4 or something. It's like, okay, I can get through this, but I don't want to like stack up. I've already got Wheel of Time. I'm in the middle of that and trying to catch up with the Cosmere. I don't want to add War, Light, and Shadows or Malazan or something else huge.
It's been too long since I read a Cosmere book.
I'm thinking I might add Realm of the Elderlings because everyone tells me treat them like little trilogies. Like do one and wait a long ass time and then do another one. Like
my advice is just to read the first 9 books.
Really?
I didn't like Rain Wilds at all, really.
That seems to be people's sticking point. But then they like the last chunk.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
Again, there's character decisions and story structure. From my main sticking point is I knew Robin Hobb could have done better.
Oh, okay. Because she had in the earlier ones, or
yeah. It basically so when you get to the end of Tawny Man, like if you want a happy ending to your series, you stop there. It's a very great stopping point. And then Rain Wild kind of comes back and revisits Live Ship Traders and stuff like that. But it's not set with the same characters or anything like that. And then the Fitz and the Fool is kind of just going on a nostalgia tour of all the other books in 3 books. And there's also a little bit of a passing of the torch. There's not as much Fitz and the Fool in Fitz of the Fool trilogy as there should be. There's some clunky story mechanics in there that I wasn't a huge fan of. It's just the first book I thought was really good, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there for me. But it ends on a beautiful note.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to start at the beginning. I'll see how much of it I like. But I mean, that one I might start because it can be in chunks. That's what I hear anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
Don't let me stop you. These are just my thoughts.
And I'm here for them, my brother. Spill your thoughts upon us.
Oh, gosh. You don't want that.
I already wrote down John Palladino. I got to get into that. Because you always hit me up with the best indie writers that I don't know about. Now, one I know about, you've read, I haven't, because I know you were a beta reader, and that's Bloodstones, and I cannot wait to read that.
It was very good. But I read Phased first, so like
Oh,
I read Tori's YA book at least a year, I think, around before I ever got Bloodstones. So I've been a fan of Tori's for a long time.
Yeah, I read Phased for my Halloween read. During the same month, I read the Buellman.
Nice. Yeah, it's a really good read. I do read a lot of indie. I kind of tripped into indie twice. All
right, you got to explain that.
Well, so my previous job, I was working with a buddy who was my boss, and we were both readers, which was really nice. But he read a lot of indie, and I didn't. Mm-hmm. And he's actually how I discovered BookTube. I've actually tried to get him to start a channel, and he won't do it. But basically, he like told me about Daniel Green and stuff like that. And when you discover Daniel Green, you go down the BookTube rabbit hole. But he got me started on Drew Hayes, which is an indie author who I've actually interviewed, which was fantastic. That was thanks to Zach. Zach hooked the two of us up.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, so Zach's fantastic. And so I read indie there, and I also read some other indie series that were just recommended to me by my boss. And then I kind of got into BookTube after meeting Nico and Megan from Megan's Reading Revelations, which I think she still puts up videos, but she's not super active in the community anymore. She's got a very busy life. And I all of a sudden stumbled on Zach Argyle, which was Threadlight. And I just got my notification today that it shipped. My Kickstarter edition shipped. I'm so excited.
Okay, I will get that. I did back the Kickstarter. So I won't watch your videos and just seethe with green jealousy because I am getting one, but I have not got my update that it shipped.
Mike's had his in hand for a week.
They sent him his as soon as they got. I'm pretty sure he got his before all of us.
This is rude. You know I'm blurbed on the back of the paperback omnibus.
Oh, really?
Rude.
Wow.
Rude.
Fitz and the Fool is so good, says Sean.
I know. You're either going to love it or you're not.
Okay. Whatever you do, strongly recommend reading Malazan only when you commit to reading it straight through.
Yeah, I think that's actually fairly decent advice.
Really? You would concur with that one?
I stalled out about a year and a half ago on after book 3.
We gotta say hello to Kay.
Earlier.
Gotta say hello to Kay because I love listening to Kay.
Oh, Kay's amazing. I felt so bad. So she invited me to come on her channel for her 1,500 subscriber celebration, and it was a rough weekend. And I just got like brain fog, and it didn't even blip my radar that like it was like I went online to be like, okay, that's coming up, right? And only to realize that it had just gone by. I felt so bad.
Me and Kay are in the same boat. We're both waiting for that copy to ship.
It should be sometime this week, according to their last update.
But now you've read Threadlight.
Oh yeah.
If you blurb the paperback, you've read it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm in for, but I cannot wait to find out.
If you've read Mistborn, then you'll like it just fine.
I'm right now. I'm reading book 2 of Era 2. So
okay, yeah, then you'll like it just fine.
Okay, yeah, no, that's what I hear. I hear if you like, and I dug Mistborn Era 1. I thought it was, I really enjoyed it.
I really liked the first book of Era 2 and the last book of Era 2. The second and third book, I kind of forced myself through.
Okay. I hear like the last book of Era 2 is kind of a curveball. Like it's not.
It kind of makes it more Cosmere-esque. Like
that's what I hear. Yeah. We wanted a Wax and Wayne adventure and we got woo. You know. Okay. I'm forewarned about that. Have you done any of the Ryan Cahill books?
Are you asking him because you know I've told him straight to his face that they weren't for me?
Oh, that's right. I remember this. I was watching. I was watching. Yeah, those books are about. Oh, hi, Ryan. How are you? Didn't see you come in.
Oh no, I saw him. I continued walking. I knew he was there. It's nothing I wouldn't say to his face.
No,
anyway.
I know.
So
That you know that's the.
I think Ryan is like an incredibly amazing individual, and I'm so happy his books are finding success. They just weren't for me.
How many did you read?
I read the first one, the first novella. I read the first one twice and the first novella twice. And then I got about, I think, 200 pages into book 2.
Okay.
So, I mean, I gave it like 800 pages.
I mean, for me, I hear there's a big jump from the first novel to the second, not counting the novellas. But so,
Sure.
I mean, you gave it into book 2, so you know, you could make a judgment call by that point.
Yeah, it's fine. I will probably read his next series. Probably. I think he's a good enough writer that it's something I want to explore. It just kind of, I don't know, his books didn't work for me. And that's fine. Apparently I marched to the beat of my own drum.
We all do, man. We all do. Absolutely. I mean, you know what, Derek? I kind of feel you. I'm only about 150 pages in or so, and I'm really liking it. I really like the connective tissues to Era 1, and I really like the whole civil unrest feel and all that's going on with it. So I'm digging it a lot.
Here's
Void
Derek's
Walker,
book.
talk to me.
This is Derek's book.
Oh, Derek! What the hell? I gotta write this down right now. Void Walker, all right.
It's a series of novellas. It's 8 novellas.
Okay.
It's very, very interesting. I've been meaning to come back to it. I've read the first novella, and it was actually very, very interesting. It's like a man going about his daily life, and when he's sleeping, he's in this like Victorian murder mystery.
Oh, that could be cool.
Like a dinner party murder mystery type of deal whenever he goes to sleep.
Oh, that could be
Trying
cool.
to figure out if it's like real or not real.
I think that. Okay, Void Walker. I'll look that one up. I got that one and John Palladino. You always give me a list, Andrew. You always give me a list.
I've got 700 books here to give you a list from.
Oh my God. And I know you put that question out to count, and I was like, I can't. I'll depress myself. I can't do that. I'm trying to stick to, like, I've made a plan for myself this year. Like, I'm going to do one indie a month, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel that creeps up. Like some months I'll get 2 in because I just want to. But I'll do at least one indie a month, and I'm trying to do, okay, here's a brand new indie author I haven't read. And then the next month, I got to go back to, because I want to finish Philip Chase's trilogy, and I want to finish Michael R. Miller's trilogy, and I want, like, all these...
Have you started Ascendant?
Yes, I read the first one.
Was it good?
Dude, it's so... I interviewed him after I read the book, and I told him to his face, like, dude, you're a pusher. This is a gateway drug. Like, if I had read this when I was 13... I would be all in on this kind of literature the rest of my life. It's that kind of feel. Okay. It's the same kind of feel when I read Dragon World by Michael Reeves when I was a kid, or Narnia when I was a kid. It's that kind of gateway drug that makes you just go, this is my jam, man. This is my world. And it's got some very interesting societal situations going on, because there's a lot going on with it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of tropes, but he subverts it just enough to make it very readable. And super nice guy, man. Just crazy nice guy.
I've got the first 2 on the shelf, so.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do one new and one get back to it. You know, one new, one get back to, because I've got so many trilogies and stuff started from delving into indie world, indie publishing.
I've got 40 books. You've already seen my stacks of those are series. Those 4 stacks I showed you, those are books that are in series I've already started and I haven't gotten back to. I'm gonna let you take this one. Okay, I'm gonna suck at this because you put me on the spot.
But Andrew, you're a content creator. This is what you do.
Yeah. So Wandering In is very interesting. Essentially, we've got these group of young individuals. It's basically an isekai. If you know what an isekai is, it's basically a portal fantasy of sorts, where you get dropped into a fantasy world. And Erin Solstice was kind of just stumbling to the bathroom in the middle of the night. She takes a wrong turn, and all of a sudden she's face to face with a dragon. She doesn't know what's going on. And in this world, basically, she escapes from the dragon, and she wanders until she finds an abandoned inn. And because she doesn't know what else to do, she spends the night in the inn and decides to start cleaning it. And when she goes to sleep that night, she gets a level. Basically, she levels up in the innkeeper class. And so this is a world that has levels for certain things. If you interact with this world in a certain way, you can get levels in it like a video game. But this world doesn't understand video game. This is just their culture. And so basically, you've got not just Aaron, but multiple individuals keep appearing from our world into their world. Now, one of the cool things is it's our world. Like, I'm talking Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton election is mentioned in this world. Like, it's our world. People from our world, not just people from Earth. It's people from our world coming in to this world, into this kind of situation. It's got goblins. It's got lizard men, or well, we'll say drakes. It's got dragons. It's got mage schools. It's got a runners guild. It's got war bands. It's got Antenium, which are basically like an ant-like people. It's got dead gods. It's got everything. And it's slow-paced enough that you really get to sit with these characters and learn about their day-to-day lives and learn what it's like to live in this world and experience this culture shock, experience a magical world that's bigger than our own. And it's funny because some of the characters are just like, oh God, what if these people, these backwards people, learn how to make nuclear weapons from something that's in my head? And these people don't care because they've got magic.
Yeah.
So it's very cool. It's very interesting. And there are just so many great characters to explore. And so it's just such a rewarding series. From a character-based level, I highly recommend just going into the series, trying the first book. If you vibe with that first book, you're going to vibe with the rest of the series. If you don't, or if you're on the fence, don't even bother.
It's so long. Like I just find it intimidating to start because it's...
Ignore the length. That if you focus on the length, you'll never start.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you got to do it like you say and just go, I'm just going to try this one book and see what happens.
In fact, what Erin uses a frying pan as her main weapon.
You know you love it when you bought merch, man.
I didn't buy that. They gifted that to me.
You're kidding me. Oh, that's really sweet of them.
It's very sweet.
Really sweet. Okay, we talked about this before. I am not against trying manga. I have never done it.
Vinland Saga is a good one.
Is that a good one? All right, I'm going to write that down.
Vinland Saga is one. It's basically Viking historical fiction. Berserk is, you've got to be braced for Berserk. I mean, Berserk opens up with him having intercourse with a demon and then killing it.
I'm a Clive Barker fan. I'm going to write that down. That sounds like that might be...
Well, if you're a Clive Barker fan, that might be up your alley as well.
I'm hip on a little bit of the ultra violence, so okay.
It's very ultra violent.
Okay, you know what? I just want to start the right place. I just want to start at the right place. Am I against it? No. Jacob pushed my son. My son has been pushing me for so long to get into Attack on Titan because he digs Attack on Titan.
I don't like the art style.
I don't know.
I'm a My Hero Academia guy.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but sure.
And I also like Assassination Classroom.
Did they do a TV show of that for a little bit?
I don't know. It's possible.
Seems like I watched something about that for a little bit. Hey, Britton, how you doing, buddy?
What's up? But yeah, no, there's so I liked Buso Rankin. That's your question, I think.
Yep, I'll get to it. You just keep going.
Oh no, don't let me. Don't let me do that.
Yes, I finished it this week. I have finished it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed it a good bit. I am very interested to start book 2 because it left me with many, many questions. I will say that. I love the world. I love the lore. I love the brutality. I love the brashness. I love I love his no holds barred style. So I am very intrigued to start book 2 and see where he's going to go with it. I will say that. And I'm going to hold judging what I think of it until I read all 3 books, I think. I think that's the safest bet.
I don't have the ability to do that.
You can't do that, Andrew.
No, I make snap judgments all the time. I've regretted it maybe twice.
But I think, you know what, I admire you for that. And I've told you this, like, you are so comfortable in your own skin and know what you like and know what you want from a read when you're going to enjoy that time to sit down, and you won't let it be interrupted. Like, I think that's admirable. I really do.
Thank you.
I'm
just very picky. I got too much to read to waste time forcing my way through books.
I think because I have a little bit of OCD in me, like when I have the hardest, when I start something, if I don't finish it, I have the hardest time letting go, you know?
Oh, ADHD. I can.
See, we're like the opposite. We're like the 2 sides of the coin, or opposite ends of the spectrum, you know? Because me, it's like, well, I started this. I won't be fulfilled unless I have to finish this now.
I won't be fulfilled unless I enjoyed it. Like,
yeah.
I basically do the ADHD. I chase dopamine. If I'm not having a good time, I'm not going to read it.
I wish I had. I wish I had more of that. I so much wish I had more of that. Yeah. And for me, it's like I think so much time spending time watching my all my friend group perform and do things and trying to find the best of what. Maybe I didn't like that show. Maybe I wasn't crazy about that production, but because, you know, they're your friends and everything, like, it's like, oh, I have to take what the best is and what the artist was trying to do. And it's like, I just do that now with every book or with everything I pick up or watch. And it's like, sometimes I can get bogged down in something I'm not entirely digging, you know?
Well, it's not exactly a good thing either, because I can have a series that I really enjoy, and if the author does something that I just don't like, it can throw me off the rails, and I find it very hard to forgive.
Yeah.
Especially, well, in my personal life, I forgive very easily, but in my reading, I'm very brutal. I'm very brutal. Like, I can't look down the barrel of 700 pages if you've already teed me off 400 pages in.
My wife went to a very, very, very prestigious MFA program for writing. So she is like you. She will pick up by page 3. She's like, nope.
That's how I was with Prior of the Orange Tree. 3 pages in, and I closed the book and put it away.
And I'm like, you're not even giving these people a chance. No, they broke this rule. They did. I can't even. There's no way.
With Prior of the Orange Tree, basically, I looked for certain things. If within a certain page count it was repeated again, and it was repeated again, I can extrapolate that is the style of the writer. And I just don't like that. Yeah.
And it's going to be over and over. I mean, for the whole thing, that's probably what you're setting up for.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a line in Priory in the first few pages. It's like, I had seen him and I could not unsee him. And I was like, that's some Shakespearean bullcrap. Like, I was like, of course you saw him and you can't unsee him. Like,
you saw him.
Yeah. I don't know. And then they did something like that again, and I was just like, this ain't that kind of book. Like, I'm not here for Shakespeare. If I want Shakespeare, I'll go read Shakespeare.
Love Shakespeare. Have you read Sword of Kaigan, Andrew? I have that. I've got it. I just haven't read it yet.
Yes, I've read it.
Okay.
I read it in 2020.
Is it as good as I hear?
No.
Really?
No, it is amazing, but it is a flawed masterpiece.
But a masterpiece nonetheless.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
so basically what ended up happening is Sword of Kaigan is a standalone that has a follow-up series of YA portal fantasy books around it that the author decided to walk away from. So there are elements within Sword of Kaigan, because Sword of Kaigan takes place 10 years before those books, that just you just never get any payoff from. And so honestly, she could go back and re-edit and remove those, and it would be a masterpiece.
Oh.
Well,
she should do that. If
she did a whole blog post saying she wasn't a good enough writer to stick the landing.
Well, but you know what?
That's her words, not mine.
I get that. And you know what? I hate everything I've ever done. You know, like every show I was ever in or ever did, and everyone came backstage and told me, and it's like oh my, it was horrible. And every artist is like that.
Yeah.
No one's ever happy, you know. So I don't know if it's her. It's the audience to judge. Really.
Yeah, there are some elements that just go nowhere in the book. They don't need to be there. They're not part of the story at large. They were meant to enrich the side series, and she walked away from that series. So I never read those books because as soon as I was getting ready to, she walked away, and I was like, well, then what's the point?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to read it.
It's very good. There's some absolutely pulse-pounding situations in that series.
Riyria, Andrew.
Yeah, I've read it.
Do I need to put this on my list?
Depends.
On.
I know a lot of people who love Riyria. I read all 3 books. Well, I guess you could say 6 books. They're bound up into 3 books, and I had a decent time. It's great entry level epic fantasy.
Okay, I could be in for that. I'm gonna write that down.
And it's entertaining, and it's witty, and they're funny. The first book, Theft of Swords, was my favorite. I thought it was incredibly witty and funny. There's 6 prequel books, and then another 3, another trilogy. Is there 2 trilogies? Well, there's 5 that follow Royce and Hadrian. There's Riyria Revelations and Riyria Chronicles. Those are Royce and Hadrian books. Chronicles is the origin story of Royce and Hadrian. Revelations is the original trilogy, or the original 6 books. And then Legends of the First Empire, I DNF'd. I couldn't do it. There was some stuff that I just think should be inherent in a world, and I don't like having to watch the invention of writing. And that just kind of made me twitch a little bit. And again, I'm very unforgiving.
Yes.
And then there's a bridge trilogy that I think just released its latest book, Ezra Hardin, who was a character in Revelations.
Okay, that sounds like that could be fun. I wrote that down.
I never tell people not to read. It was one of my early before I had a BookTube channel. I was reading Riyria Revelations, and I remember that series and Witcher. I had a lot of rants about with just basic stuff.
Yeah. I read the first 2 books of Witcher, and I don't know.
Those are the best 2. Those are the best 2.
Yeah, and there's some parts of it I really love. Like I really love, you know, the different class system of the elves and what had happened in the past. And I mean, there's certain things that that's really interesting take on that. I really like that. But they're just, I don't know, there wasn't enough to call me back to go back to book 3. I still haven't gone back, so I guess.
That's fine. Are you talking about like Blood of Elves, or are you talking the short story collection?
I think the first 2 were short story collections that I read anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. The third is book 1.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. Blood of Elves is book 1. But I really liked that it was a Grimm Fairy Tales retelling in the first short story collection. I thought that was kind of cool.
I thought that was kind of cool too. Yeah.
But then like I went and read I DNF'd the prequel Season of Storms. There was a scene where Geralt gets like tackled by a bunch of really ugly, overweight guardswomen, and they're all farting while they do it. And I was just like, no, absolutely not.
I could have wrote this when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, it was just like absolutely not.
So what is a book series that would hit all the marks for you, Andrew?
A book series?
Yeah.
That hits all the marks.
Mm-hmm. And this is from T. Baggins. He's not quite familiar with your taste, so a series for you that like hits all the marks. Rings the bell.
Really rings the bell, huh? Is it bad that nothing immediately jumps to mind?
You're a very discerning reader. That's what that says.
Well, it has to be something I've read more than one book in, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I guess if it's a series, or if you read the first book and it was just amazing and you haven't gone back yet, but you loved it, that could work.
Rings all the bells. Honestly, I would have said Realm of the Elderlings if it wasn't for those last 7 books. The first 9 would definitely ring that bell. LPQ. Long Press Quartet.
Okay.
Long Press Quartet is a absolutely underappreciated masterpiece. Honestly, my eyes hit it and I went, that's the one. It's never one that I immediately list in my favorites, but it's always one where I can look at that series and say, I don't have a single complaint.
Wow. And that's like 4 shorter.
It's 4 shorter books, yeah.
Okay.
Long Press Quartet.
I know Tori loves I think Joanna loves that one too. Like a lot of people really love that.
It's a slower fantasy. It's a very intentional series where Daniel Abraham sets up the situation, this single encounter of these 2 young boys. And then we watch as they constantly bump into each other across 4 separate situations across 60 years. And there's like 15 years between each book.
Oh, that's really cool.
And you kind of see over the course of their lives, the decisions that they made reverberate and have consequences. And it may be something that you don't even think about when you first read it. But when you get to that last book and it's all laid there, you can just kind of see everything. It was beautifully done. There's almost no action in the series whatsoever. There is a war, but it's absolutely beautifully done. So
wow.
I would have to give it there.
The only reason I'm not writing that down is I already have it on my wish list.
Yeah, everything else I've got small gripes. Like I've got small gripes of almost everything. Like I would say Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, but the first 2 books are incredibly slow. I could say the City Watch, but Jingo is a swing and a miss sometimes, or Fifth Element, or Thud isn't exactly great. Oh gosh, I mean, Grim Noir is also one. I told Brian on BellTube earlier today that like forget Saga of the Forgotten Warrior, read Grim Noir Chronicles.
I can write that down. I haven't heard of that.
Grim Noir Chronicles is amazing. It's an alternate history style of like noir, just fantasy, urban fantasy. It's really good. I love that. I loved it. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking around my shelves and trying to think of. I could say Superpowers. Superpowers really scratches my itch.
I don't know that one either.
That's Drew Hayes. They're big, beefy books. You might not want to write those down.
Superpowers.
I'm
not afraid of a big, beefy book. I just
pretty much. I think Drew Hayes has one book that hasn't absolutely knocked it out of the park for me.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, he's got his Fred the Vampire Accountant series. That's fantastic. The first book is called The Utterly Uninteresting Tales of Fred the Vampire Accountant. And it's a bunch of stitched together short stories that form a cohesive novel. And there's 8 of those that he's done. Fantastic stuff. Superpowers is about, there's like a class system around superheroes.
Okay. Comics geek, so that sounds right up my alley, yeah.
Oh yeah, and one of the classes is called Powards, who can't control their superpowers. Like there's a character who every time he sneezes, he teleports. And so he'd be considered a power because he can't do it at will.
Right.
And they kind of do this science experiment and they take 4 powers and turn them into supers and send them off to superhero college. And you kind of get to see that explored over 4 years, and there's deeper mysteries and stuff like that. It's really good stuff. I've read it twice.
That sounds awesome. Saga of the Forgotten Warrior, Brent says.
Okay, here again. That's a Tim Gerald no. That's a Tim Gerald Reynolds narrated series.
Oh, okay. So maybe you need to read it.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I put books 3 and 4 to be read physically over the next 2 months, and to see if I have a different experience. I thought the first 10% of Saga of the Forgotten Warrior was going to be incredibly bland, and then it does a really cool twist that I thought that like pulled me back in. I've read the first 2 books. So Yeah, that's just I think TGR does that one, and I'm just not the biggest fan of TGR.
Wow. Okay, guy, I don't know him, but so I am gonna go back to Howling Dark in March. It's on my March stack.
Have you read it at all?
I've read Empire of Silence and Lesser Devil, which is the novella between books 1 and 2. Howling Dark is book 2, so I'm going to go to that in March. I have it on my March stack.
That is one of the best books I've ever read.
Everyone says it takes a big leap, and I really enjoyed Empire of Silence. Like,
Stone Eater might be another series that scratches every single itch.
there is so much going on philosophically in Sun Eater.
I
Like,
ignore all of it.
I
I ignore that crap. I'm there for story, I'm there for Hadrian, and I'm there for cool, weird science stuff.
I mean, Hadrian's journey, the philosophy, his personal philosophy, and the changing of it as he goes on his journeys. I just found it. For me, it's such an amazing parallel of a young writer coming into manhood, writing this philosophical journey of this character coming into manhood. You know, like I just dig it on so many levels. Like, it really. There was so many times I had to like set that book down and go, all right, I got to ruminate on that for a second. Like, I have to think about that. And
you see, it's funny. I didn't really like the first book.
really,
I gave it maybe 3.5 stars.
well, that's solid. I don't think that's a bad score.
It's not. But then book 2, I DNF'd it because there's a time jump and I got mad.
Okay.
And then I got yelled at by like 50 people. And so I came back and I read book 2, and it absolutely knocked my socks off. And I immediately jumped into book 3. Samuel Rukin, I think, is the narrator for that series.
But book 3, now that's the Demon in White. That's what everyone says is their favorite.
I think Howling Dark is better.
Really? Okay.
But like, we're talking, like, if we're taking a score out of 1,000, like,
It's
Howling Dark's 1,000, Demon White is like 998.
okay.
Like,
So
they're both amazing books. Like, I can barely compare them. I've actually got Ashes of Man and Kingdoms of Death in those stacks to read within the next 3 months.
okay. So you'll be caught up by April when the new one comes out.
Yeah, I've got Disquiet Gods pre-ordered.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go because he lives really close to me.
You interviewed him, didn't you?
Yeah, but he's not that much of a drive away. So when he does his signing for when it comes out, I'm going to go to the signing and pick up a copy.
Can you just get like 5 signed book plates for me?
I told him, it's like, hey, if you'd love to go, I'll take you out and get you a little, a nice top shelf. I'd love to buy a drink and sit with you for a little bit. And I just love to talk to the guy. I find him enormously interesting.
He's an amazing guy. I've been following him ever since Mike started reading it on his channel.
Yeah. And he's the flavor of the day right now. I hope he's having all kinds of success because
he is. Because Daniel Green hopped on.
Yeah, and Petrick, and he's sold out now, right? Like, they're reprinting or something. The new paperback printing is having to be rerun and everything. Like,
yeah.
I just hope massive success comes to this guy.
He deserves it 100%.
Yeah, I just love to see an artist hit that. It's like, this guy has been working when it wasn't easy, and he deserves every bit that comes to him.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I've actually, the only reason is that I haven't continued the series is I'm nervous that it won't live up, or I'm nervous that it will surpass books that I already love. And so the issue is I finished literally Howling Dark, and I went immediately into Demon in White. I wasn't planning on reading Demon in White. Like, I couldn't stop myself. And so I think when I finish Kingdoms of Death, I'm going to be compelled to go straight into Ashes of Man, because that was initially one book.
Oh yeah, he had to cut
it was split, and that's part of why he split with Daw.
Yeah. Well, didn't Daw say we're only giving you like one more? He needed 2 more to finish the story his way, and they were giving him 1 more or something, like,
because they forced him to split it.
Yeah. That's
DAW got bought out, and DAW started being shady.
oh, is that what it was? Okay.
They either got sold or bought out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I hear so many weird stuff about trad publishing that I would have never, until I started looking into indie, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have never in a million years thought they might just not finish your series. Like,
Yeah.
they can just pull the plug on you, and then you don't really own the characters either. You can't really do what you want with it, even if you went somewhere else. And it's like it's just dead. Your arc's just dead.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at with Ilona Andrews right now. And that's not something I'm going to recommend you read. It's urban fantasy romance. But they have they were doing a trilogy of trilogies, and then they left their trad publisher, and now it's a duology of trilogies. And I'm kind of sad that will never be
finished the way they want it.
Finished the way they want it, because the publisher owns the rights to the characters.
That's crappy, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that really makes you think.
At least I think that's what's happened.
I
could be wrong.
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
I mean, indie's got some kind of, like, you definitely have more control, like, in certain aspects.
A lot of what I wish indie would do, though, is I do have a gripe with indie, is, like, just slow down and take your time. You don't need to put out 4 books a year. I know you're trying to get sales. I get it. I respect the hustle, but quality over quantity will get you much further in the long run. So I wish more authors would limit themselves to max of 2 books a year.
I mean, that's still cranking a lot.
And that is cranking a lot.
I mean,
there are some people who are putting out 3 to 4 books a year.
Wow.
Some are putting out 5.
I mean, that's I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And I'm sorry, at that rate, nothing's going to be perfect.
Well,
or
I mean,
art not as good as it could have been.
Yeah,
that's my only.
There you go. There you go.
I just wish some people would slow down.
I mean, I think that, yeah, as good as you could make it if you had alpha beta readers, editors, and took all those steps.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've also gotten to the point recently where it's just like, not everything needs to be 1,000 pages. Like 200 of those pages could have been stripped right out.
Yeah.
You didn't need to describe that person's color of hair for the 5th time.
Yeah. But there's sometimes in trad, and it's like, I know, dude, I know this that you just said, your favorite book, you've read it 9 times. Eye of the World. Like, there's a lot that I've read in the first however many books of Wheel of Time I've read. It's like, I mean, I think that could have been compressed.
Well, again, he got carried away. It was supposed to be 5 books. And if you compress a lot of that, or you go in and edit it and make a definitive copy, you probably remove 4 or 5 books. Just in content. That Wheel of Time is a very flawed series. Some people attribute it to nerd homework.
I haven't heard that one. So what it speaks to, did it just hit at the right time for people, you think? Or is it just the nostalgia factor? Is it just, everybody's different.
A lot of new readers are kind of meh on Wheel of Time that I've seen. Like, it was very much a product of its time. It very much leans heavily into Battle of the Sexes, which was a very 80s thing. The Battle of the Sexes throughout the series can actually get kind of annoying in Wheel of Time, because you've always got Nynaeve, and she's jabbering at people and how men suck, and but meanwhile anyway, I don't want to talk about spoilers, but
yeah, because I haven't finished it.
Well, you would know what I'm talking about by the point where you're at, but I'm talking about for viewers. But like,
I think I know where you're going.
You've got the men's council, you got the women's circle, and like, you've got all this separation of the sexes, and it's a battle. And honestly, like, that's probably a whole book's worth of content that just doesn't need to be there anymore. It hasn't aged particularly well, but it was a product of its time. And I mean, Eye of the World came out in 1990.
Wow.
February of 1990, I believe. The series is 1 month older than I am.
Wow. No, that's true.
And
I mean, to me, that doesn't sound like that old ago. But if you do the math, it's been a minute.
33 years.
It's crazy to me that was 33 years ago.
Almost 34 if we give it about 8 days.
Let's give it the 8. Let's go ahead and round it up.
Yeah, so it's basically a 34-year-old series. So there's a lot of nostalgia. It is kind of one of the original big series. It's just I don't know what's tied up into it, but
was it one of those first ones that's like, okay, now because for me, I think when I think of like the first one, like Rift War Saga was like, I don't know, 15, 18, something like that books. Like there was huge series before that. But I guess it was one of the first, right? Like,
yeah. Well, you had Rift War was doing its own thing, and then you had Shannara. You had, I think, Dragonlance was around that time as well.
Yeah.
But those were kind of, I mean, Shannara is more for like the general audience. Like Wheel of Time was epic adult fantasy when that was kind of had gone by the wayside for a while. I mean, the only other adult epic one that I can think of would be Elric of Melniboné or Thomas Covenant the Unbeliever, which are very polarizing series. This one was just kind of taking Tolkien and embracing it and then doing its own thing with it. And I don't know. I'm not saying it was the first one to do that because obviously there's 60 years separating the two.
Yeah.
Because The Hobbit came out in the 30s.
Sure. Have you read Thomas Covenant? I don't think I've read. I'm trying to remember if I read like the first book or not, or I don't think I have.
No, Nico has.
Has he? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Nico loves it.
See, I'm totally with Kellen here, man. I feel you, brother.
Bro, no. I hate to break it to you, but no.
Don't do that, Andrew.
No. Sorry. 1990 was my birth year.
Oh my God. Andrew. Wow.
I've heard that it is a very thought-provoking series with a lot of hard-to-read scenes. There's some essay in there, and there's a little bit... It's a portal fantasy as well. There's some disillusionment with that. I think like Thomas Covenant suffers from leprosy.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
So there's... And it's like... I think 10 books.
Yeah, it's not short. I think it's a little bit... Zach is scared of it.
I don't know. I have no immediate plans to read it.
I mean, I'm so stacked up, it won't be anytime soon. I mean, I swear, I'm trying to remember if I read it like when I was, way younger, and I just can't remember. I know I didn't read the whole series, but I can't remember if I read the first book or not, because I can so well picture the paperback release. Like, if I didn't read it, I know I picked it up in the bookstore about 500 times thinking about, is this the time I get this one? And then I probably just got something else. I remember that. Yeah, and I mean, I read every Rift War book that came out right when it came out. I was all into that.
I mean, I've got the special editions.
I know.
They're right here.
I know. I've seen them. They're so pretty. I don't have...
They weren't cheap.
I had all my little mass market paperbacks when they came out.
Hey, pocketbooks were cool back in the day.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was the way to go, man. Everyone had those. Okay, Heidi says she binged all 15 Wheel of Times in 3 months. That's a lot.
That is way too much Wheel of Time. I think the fastest I've ever read the series was 5 months.
How did you do that? You had to have been listening to audio like in your sleep or something. Like that's
a lot of Wheel of Time. Heidi, I love Wheel of Time. I'm just speaking to the history of the series.
I'm not bashing Wheel of Time at all. I mean, there's a reason why I'm committed to get back to it this year, because I think it's
my introduction to adult fantasy.
Yeah,
I read it when I was 12 or 13.
I don't know what I feel about it because I haven't finished it. Like, I know the first 5 or 6 books I've read, there's some awesome things about it that I truly love. There's some characters I truly love. When I did like my favorite heroes list, Rand was on it. I think he's an amazing hero, and I think there's so.
Time.
Huh?
I said, give him time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. I kind of love the fact. I really dig the fact that it's almost like taking somewhat of a mental illness, like the voices he's hearing from how this has all happened before and coming around again, and he's hearing things, and it's almost like type of almost a split personality thing that he's having to deal with, as well as coming into being a man and getting a hold of his powers. And it's like there's a lot of it that I really dig.
I've read through Knife of Dreams, I think 3 times.
Yeah,
I've read through, I think, Lord of Chaos probably 6 times.
Wow.
And then I've read through, I don't know, the first 4 7 times, and the first trilogy 8, and the first book 9 times.
Wow.
And the whole series at least once or twice.
I have a real hard time rereading because there's so much new. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Like there's so much new stuff.
I did all of that before this.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, rereading now, right? That's so hard. Like, isn't
my
that
last
really...
reread of Wheel of Time I ditched at Crossroads of Twilight.
Did you really?
Yeah. I didn't make it.
You just couldn't. You couldn't do Crossroads again?
I was bored.
Well, you know what's coming, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be a big part of it.
But I can't skip ahead. I have to suffer through it.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just read a new book.
See, I'm surprised hearing you say that, because you are the, if it's not speaking to you, you put it aside. I'm the one, I have to get through every bit of it, every bit of it. And I don't do audiobooks, so it takes, it takes some time. So it's like there's so much new stuff that's calling to me. And then once I discovered indie, that's like a whole nother...
Oh, I've got 2 shelves of indie.
Yeah. I mean, I have not read Bloodstones yet, and it's like I want to read that so badly, but I have so much stuff stacked up.
Trust me, I understand. I've got 41 review copies that I'm behind on.
So you are shut down for review copies. Did I hear that correct?
Unless I have an existing relationship with the author.
Yeah.
So like if JCM Byrne, or Michael Michelle, or Andrew D. Meredith, or Tori Tekken, or any of those people reach out to me and say, hey, I've got a new book, you want to read it? Yes. Christopher Russell is definitely on that list. Mark Timoney, I've been waiting for Mark Timoney. We've got Tiago Abdallah, AC Newell, Jacqueline Hagan, Stephen Arian, although Stephen's trad, but he still makes my list. But yeah, like if it's on here and I've read it and I've loved it and I get offered the next book in the series, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, like for me, Jacqueline Hagan, like that's next month. I'm starting off next month with book 2 in that series, because that's a series like ever since I read the first book.
We can buddy read that.
Let's do it. I'm reading it. Yeah, because Spider Key. Yeah, it's like that's my next month. That's my indie read, because I have been wanting to get back to this series since I read the first book.
Me too.
The first book is so good.
Yeah.
So, okay, Brian wants in.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, so February.
Yep.
You are down, sir. I better write this down.
You better, because I won't remember. There was, like, last month, I was supposed to do a cover reveal for somebody, Brian Wilson, on Twitter. And I put out on Twitter, I was like, I can't remember. I was supposed to do a cover reveal today. And he DM'd me and took pity on me. He was like, was it me? And I was just like, yeah. Thanks. And then I went
Zach,
and did
if you can catch up, you're in, brother.
Oh, dude, Zach, so good.
Oh, I can't imagine somebody reading that first book and not. I mean, you may not love it, like it may not be your kind of thing, because it's pretty genre blending. It's pretty different, but yeah. I can't imagine anyone not going, okay, what the hell happens next? Like, I have serious questions. Like I read that first book, and it's like when I talked about it on my channel, it's like you're putting a jigsaw puzzle together, and book one almost allows you to have the border of it done because, you know, I can do the border because it's a flat edge. And yet, even after the first book, I'm missing holes in the border, and I should be able to know that because it should have a flat frickin' edge on it.
Yeah.
And I still have questions like, what is going on with some of these characters? Like, it just sucks you in. Completely. It did for me.
No, I agree. It got me from line one.
Yeah. Oh, such a great start.
I actually read the first chapter with Tori for a challenge. And that's how we both ended up reading the story. I suggested it because I was just like, have you heard of this thing? And like I've heard, I don't know like where I first saw it from, but like I think I'd sampled it and I suggested it, or somebody else had tried it and I trusted their recommendation. I don't remember, but whatever reason, like me and Tori, we read that first chapter. Tori read it before I did because I'm behind on everything. And yeah, this is fantastic. And now it's an SPFBO finalist.
It could win, man. It could win the whole. I think it could win the whole
thing.
thing. I mean, but you know what? To be totally fair, I've not read any of the other titles. Some of them look really intriguing, and I haven't picked up any of them.
This is the one I submitted for semifinalists. You would love this.
Yeah. Okay. That's Michael Michel.
Michelle. I don't know. He's never
Okay.
corrected me.
And that's dark, right? We're talking dark.
Yeah.
All right. I write this down. What's that one called?
The Price of Power.
Price of Power.
Very good. It does some really interesting things because the prologue is written in a different style of fantasy than the rest of the story. It's written like heroic fantasy because it's from a time of heroes, and then when we jump in, it changes the style of the book entirely. So you can't judge the book based off of the prologue. And like, I actually went to Michael and I was like, yeah, your prologue doesn't match the rest of your book. Like, I don't know if you knew that or if that was intentional. And he explained that to me, and I was like, that's so big-brained. I didn't even pick up on it. Like, it's like here I'm like a monkey banging two rocks together, and he's over here playing the violin.
I think you sell yourself a little short, sir. A little bit short. Cake and the Damned is way dark. Like, that book should come with trigger warnings all over the cover.
I almost bought that book like 6 months ago. I was in Barnes & Noble and saw it.
Like,
I almost bought it. I'm not big into vampires. Vampires are a thing I've got to be in the mood for.
It's not, I wouldn't say it's as much vampire. There's a little in there, but it's not as much vampire as it is Lovecraftian. There's a lot of Lovecraftian stuff going on in there. And it is, I'm telling you, dark, dark, dark.
Is it?
Yeah, like bag over the head dark.
I don't know if that's up my alley.
It may not be, man. It may not be. I'll be the first one to say, absolutely.
Nope.
Yep, no, you're not up for it. All right, Andrew, as always, my friend, you have given me like a full, enormous page to add to my TBR. So I hope you feel good about that, sir.
I do.
Yeah, I know you do. It's what you do to me. Every time I watch a video or every time I talk to you, you do the same thing to me.
You're welcome.
Yeah. The great thing about it is, like, I'm not going to get the indie hookup from really anyone else. Like, you're my source, man. Well, Tori. If I talk to Tori, I get the same.
Pretty cool. Kayla reads a lot of indie.
Kayla does read a lot of indie. Kayla puts me to shame with she reads a lot of indie.
Yeah. Kayla's amazing.
Yeah. So how many? I mean, you read. It's more than 50%. You read indie as opposed to trad. I would say in a month, it's more than 50%.
It's gone down lately because I got a lot of trad on my shelves that I haven't read. So right now, this month, I've only read 1, 2. That was trad, that was indie, but now it's. Let's see, 3. I'm on my fourth indie read this month. So right now I'm sitting around about 30%.
Yeah, but you said like I think 8 books so far this month. So 4 out of 8. That's pretty almost half. That's half. If my 6th grade math is right.
I don't know. I peaked at geometry.
Yeah, you're banging rocks, Andrew. You're banging rocks.
Banging rocks.
Andrew, you are the best. Thank you so much for joining me, man. We've almost been going for a couple hours, and I know you got to get to your family. You got things going on. I got to get my dogs out. I want to thank absolutely everybody that joined us in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you so much for always stopping by and hanging out with me here on the channel. Andrew, you will continue to be one of my spirit animals on BookTube because you're just one of the goods, man. I love you, my friend. Thank you so much for giving me some time.
Yeah, love you too, man.
All right.